welcome to another episode of the Stone Genius Podcast. My name is Ro. You know me, I'm often stoned. I'm always a genius. We have a special guest today on the program, Lila Grey. She is a romance author. You can find her at lilagrayromance.com. Welcome to the program. Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And I'll just be honest with everyone that's listening to this, that we have done this once before. And I didn't think the audio was good, so I appreciate you coming back. So sometimes if I reference during the show, and I will because I have a horrible memory, I will do my best to make it seem like this is our first show. But if people are listening and go, what was that reference to? That is what's going on. So how are you doing? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm doing great. I'm Lila Grey. I live in Peterborough, New Hampshire. It's a small little kind of, like to say, kind of crunchy, kind of old money town.
Let me stop real quick. Is there snow on the ground there yet?
No, thank goodness. I am not ready for that yet.
Is there what part of the year does that start arriving for you?
It depends. So technically, for snowmobiles, trails don't open till December 15th. So you're not supposed to ride on them before then if there is snow. But if you know your own backyard, private trails, then if there's snow in October, you can go. We've had snow in October before.
Man, see, and I never even thought about rules like that for trails and things. Because on jet skis, being from Florida, it's like, I guess we do have rules. Like in the inland waterways and stuff, and we do have rules. I guess.
Yeah, like there's
I guess I don't pay attention
rules
to them. So when you don't pay attention to the rules, are there really rules to begin with? Yeah, because the first time I talked to you, I was having a lot of trouble wrapping my head around that you snowmobile.
Oh yes.
So are you looking forward to the season right now as we're getting to tail down in summer? Like today here in the Midwest, it's like 70 degrees and it's the end of August. I don't know what's going on.
It's like about 60, 70 degrees today. Everyone's in, long sleeves and shorts, and it's like fall weather, so it's kind of nice.
So does that start you thinking about like a snow, like hunting season, which I don't do here, but hunting season in the Midwest is, and I'm sure in the Northeast too,
Yep.
But like, that's something that people look forward to. Is snowmobile season something that people are like, oh, I can't wait?
Oh yeah. My husband's a small engine mechanic. So right now he's gearing up to start promoting, repairs and get to work on snowmobiles, on snow blowers, things like that. So everyone's really starting to gear up.
So as being a small engine mechanic, when you're around snowmobiles and snowmobile country, is that like fostering dogs and just sometimes they don't go quite out as quickly as they came in?
Yeah, our storage unit has quite a bit of snowmobiles, so
that's not surprising. That is not surprising. Okay, so you're in New Hampshire, no snow yet. What else do you do there?
We hike, we fish, we have a really nice little town that has a lot of activities. So we had night market recently, so they shut all downtown down from 5 to 9 p.m. and people get to come out and go to the stores late. I put up a booth with my books and stuff, so crafters come out, live music, food. So we have a lot of events, a lot of kind of like artsy communities. So we have quite a bit to explore with the kids, which is really nice.
When during summertime, like the peak of summer, middle of summer, how late does it stay light there? Because you all are further north than what we are, and I think the latest that you can go out and see without any, even with my, 9:15 probably in the longest days of summer. How late do you all have light that far north?
I'd say about the same. It's
okay.
About 9:30. I think 9:30 maybe the latest is when you kind of that light's kind of really going down and you're like, it's a little hazy, but it's still light out. So it's so much fun with the kids because, trying to put them to bed and it's still light out though, Mom.
I remember that as a child. I remember listening to the kids playing outside because it's still fucking light out.
Exactly.
And I was in there and, I'm looking out my blinds and I couldn't let my parents know I was looking out the blinds because I'd get in trouble. And I couldn't let the kids know I was looking out the blinds because I'd be like, is he in bed right now? Because it's still light outside. So I just asked that. And I guess I just feel like New Hampshire's really far north. And I mean, I know that it is if you're looking, but
it
because
feels
I remember
like it sometimes.
When I was in Minneapolis doing trainings and things, when I used to have to travel to Minneapolis, I would always freak out because it would get dark so early, like 3:50 in the afternoon, it would start getting dark. And I'd be like, in the wintertime. And I would be like, what? And so I was thinking that it was, I'm thinking it usually gets dark by the time we're wrapping up. And I'd wrap up and people would be like, we still got like an hour of class. And I'm like, we do. But I've already wrapped up. So go ahead and go for the day. So it's interesting. I love small towns. I'm in suburbia again now, but I love small towns. I think they keep people more honest because you can't flip someone off in traffic and then know at the very next stop sign you're going to see them, or it's your neighbor, your back door neighbor, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I do like that. And when I hear you talking about the trails and the fishing, I mean, because you have a smile on your face. I have a smile on my face, but that is for you and you enjoying those things. And I would love to hear about those things, but in no way, shape, or form. Because the only thing that is worse than hiking and fishing is that I would have to hike somewhere to actually go fish.
We're lucky we have the river right outside, so we can go right down in our yard and fish. So we got really lucky.
That's not okay. Hold on, I gotta write that down. Where's my pen? So I have a T-shirt. I write down quotes that people have said that I'm gonna put on T-shirts sometimes, and I'm gonna write down. We just go down in our front yard to fish.
That's a good one.
Because I have never, in my nearly 57 years on this planet, and I hear a lot of stuff, I have never heard those words uttered in that sentence. Like I've heard all those words separately used differently, but when they're put together like that, I have not heard that before. So that will make a T-shirt at some point.
Perfect.
So what is your favorite outdoor activity regardless of time of year?
It's a hard one. I'd probably say fishing because we don't just fish. We take the kids, we get to go out, in the kayaks, or we go down to the pond that's like a 5-minute ride from us, and the kids fish for maybe 5 minutes. But then they're catching frogs, they're catching snakes. It's quiet, it's an old camp. So there's a ton for the kids to look around, and it's just no cell phone service, and it's just us in the moment. And I think that's probably my favorite. It's just fishing together as a family.
I hear all the kids in suburbia saying "ew" when you say catching frogs and catching snakes.
Oh man, my kids love it. They go to a nature camp every year where they're outside all the time, catching frogs, learning about animals. They're nature kids 100%.
So let me give you the background, my fishing story background. So originally from the Tampa area. So there's fucking water around. We had water we could get to if we needed to go fishing. Evidently, I was not taught while we lived in the Tampa area. So we moved to Kansas City and then we bought land in Arkansas. Because why not, when you move your kids away from the beach, why not make it worse? So we're going to move to the Midwest and then we're going to buy vacation property in Arkansas.
Great.
So we go to Arkansas and there was a trout farm. And I remember even as a young child going, those two words don't seem to go together. I mean, trout and farm. And I guess they raised the and then they would send out, but you could fish there too.
Oh. And
there is the term shooting fish in a barrel. And this was literally fishing for fish in a barrel. I mean, and they were I think they were starved because I don't
Probably.
remember. This was the 1970s, so I'm sure it was only a dime for the food, but that was a lot of money. So I'm sure that they were wanting to rake in as many 10 dimes is a dollar.
Oh
And
yeah.
back then, a dollar's a dollar, just like $20 is $20 today. So you literally would cast in, and you could. I don't think I did this as a child, but I think I could have made a game where see how quickly I can get the hook back out of the water, but I still would have had a fish on.
Oh, that's crazy. We don't have that now.
So then I thought fishing was very, very easy because I still wasn't wrapping my head. There's a lot of other people doing this. We weren't the only suckers that had been somehow taken from Florida via Kansas City down into the wilds of Arkansas at the time to fish at a trout farm. I'm going to have to look all this up now. If I had a producer, someone would be in the background doing this. So I thought fishing was very easy. And then I went to stay with my grandparents who lived in Wichita, Kansas at the time. And my grandfather took me fishing. And I am sure that during the 6 to 8 hours that we were fishing, that there was wonderful conversation. This is still probably late mid 70s. So there wasn't like bug spray really wasn't a big deal back then, but there were a lot of bugs. Wherever we were fishing, I remember two things vividly. And none of them had to do with conversations with my grandfather. I wish those were the things I remembered about this trip, but I remember two things: bugs, lots of bugs, like a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
And then we didn't catch anything all day.
Oh man, that's the worst.
It is. And so I keep thinking in my head, man, I wish that I had great stories. I mean, and it could have been 2 hours. It seemed like all day. When you're not catching fish.
It seems like all day.
Yeah, it could seem like all day. So we're packed up and we're walking. And I remember it is very, if you've ever seen the Andy Griffith show, that is a picture in my head that me and my grandfather were walking with our poles and things, you know, but then we walk by Andy Griffith or the park ranger in this case. And he goes, I believe he cursed in front of me because my grandfather was a pastor and but I believe he said, "What the heck are you guys doing?" And my grandfather goes, "Well, we're fishing, except we didn't even get a bite, and we've been here X number of hours. Somewhere between probably an hour and 8 hours. I don't know. I'm leaning towards 8 hours, but it's my story. Let me do what I want with it." So I know that you're the writer, and you're probably creating my story right now, and you may find a series out of this. The grandfather and the kid fishing series, and I'll let you do it. So the park ranger is questioning what we're doing. And even as a child, now I'm a genius, and I've always been a genius. It wasn't like I got bonked in the head one day and was like, oh, I know what 2 + 2 is. So I thought that was odd that he would ask two people walking away from a body of water. Not like in the desert. We're not in the desert. Two people walking away from a body of water, carrying a tackle box. I think it was in my left hand, and pole, my right hand. I don't know. I don't know the pole tackle box orientation for my grandfather. I don't remember that part of the story. It's not important. So, but I'm thinking as a genius child, why is this person in uniform questioning what we're doing? Once again, we are walking away from a body of water with fishing gear in tow. And my grandfather says, and I don't think it was sarcastically, because once again, he was a pastor, but who knows? He goes, "We were fishing." And the park ranger says, "Well, we had to drain this pond. It's just been refilled, and we have not restocked it yet."
Oh, no. That's why I didn't catch anything.
So now I've caught everything under the sun. I have caught nothing under the sun. And so I got to give it a third. I'm going to go out one more time. I'm going to figure out what's going on. You didn't know this was going to be about fishing stories. That you're the one that brought up your stinking river in your front yard.
I know,
Okay.
it's all my
So
fault.
it is. So, and I don't mean to blame the guests, but it is totally your fault right now, just so
I'll
you
take
know.
it.
Okay. So my friend Tony and I, he lived a couple doors down from us. There was it was a pond, but it was decent size. It was big. It was decent enough that fishing was expected there. So we walk a couple miles through the suburbs to get to this pond that's in the suburbs in a park. And so once again, I caught everything. I was the best fisherman on the face of the planet, at least momentarily in my own mind. And then I subsequently became the worst fisherman of all time. So here we go, chance 3. This is going to determine how this day goes, determines whether I'm a fisherman or not. And I think I may have given a spoiler alert when I said that I did not find fishing appealing. So I'm standing on the dock and I'm looking. So this is like one of those T docks. It goes out and then, so I go to the end of the dock and I'm ready to cast. I am ready. I have the right bait. I have the right lure. Whatever the right thing was at this point, I had the right stuff. Except aim. So I rear back and I go to cast. Oh my gosh. I haven't thought about this literally probably since it happened. I cast my pole, or I cast my line. It gets tangled in a tree, but I have so much momentum going.
Oh,
that
gosh.
I keep going, it rips the pole out of my hand, shooting it backwards into the tree. And I would hazard to guess 45 plus years later, whatever the time frame is, that pole is not in the tree. However, if we went back and it had grown into the branches and someone was like, that is weird, I'd be like, I have the story to that, because we couldn't get it. We were like, I mean, we just looked at it and there wasn't even a like, oh, well, if we try to MacGyver this, we can get it done. We were like, and so needless to say, I was a great fisherman. I was a poor fisherman. I never even got to fish my last time. And that was the last time. Every time people tell me they're going fishing, I go, well, have a great time. If you need someone to lay on the boat in their Speedo to get a tan, I'm the guy. But don't put a pole on me. Yeah. Okay. So now that we have talked the entire episode about fishing, I want to thank you so much for being on. It has been so.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Happy to be here.
Okay. So the shenanigans aside, so what made you decide, and at what age did you put out your first novel?
Oh, I have to age myself. I've always wanted to be a writer, but it wasn't until 2019, so late 20s, that I put out my first book.
Was your schooling, or at least where you excelled, or not even necessarily excelled, you can love something and still not have great grades, I kept telling my parents?
No, I went to school for international relations, actually. I wanted to work in the UN. I wanted to, save the world. I always loved to read. I always loved to write. I excelled in all my English classes. I did really well, but I was dead set on small town girl gonna save the world.
So did you want to? So if you wanted to work for the UN, then you weren't going to be a small town girl anymore.
No, exactly. I was gonna move to the city. Oh, I was going to do big things. And now here I am in a small town writing my smut books and raising 2 kids with a degree I don't use. But I'm happy. So that's all that matters.
And I often told my kids that the degree wasn't necessarily about what's on the paper, that it has more to do that you can show up, do a job, complete a task, get it done, cheat. I mean, no matter what they're looking for, if they're looking for someone to be in a gray area, I was like, I could be that guy for you. So let me ask you this real quick. So you enjoyed writing?
Yes.
Were you efficient? Like, like I enjoy writing, except my grammar, like I loved Grammarly when it came out because it would correct it. And I'd be like, oh, thank you very much. And then I had to wrap my head around like sometimes I would complain to my child, who is our youngest IQ is a few points higher than mine, and I was always aware of that. But they would always ask me like what's 8 times 6? And I would just look at him. I'm like, you're an adult. How do you not know the multiplication table? And it was like, well, I can look it up. And I'm like, I guess that makes, you can do that if you need to. And when I was writing improperly, Grammarly was the thing that was looking up. So I very much enjoyed that. But it does take people like yourself that may be good at it naturally. Does that ever bother you that people like me are leaning on AI to?
Oh goodness, no! I hire editors to edit all my stuff. I used to use Grammarly. I use Pro Writing Aid to self-edit a lot of my stuff before I send it to my editor. So oh my gosh, no, I absolutely use editing materials in my editors because I like to sprinkle a lot of commas in, semicolons, where they're not supposed to be.
And that's my problem with the AI. I do voice to text, and I thought my punctuation was bad, but then I look and punctuation will change things too. So I have a whole conspiracy theory about that whole thing that we won't even go down this because we've already spent too much time talking about fishing. Which actually, to me, if someone would have asked me what the over-under was for time spent of you and I discussing fishing, I would have put the over-under at 0.
Right, I know.
So that is something we did not, I believe, discuss on the first episode.
No, we talked snowmobiling the first episode.
We did. Yeah, and that's another... So my thing is, like with jet skiing, you can kind of see what's going on. Maybe you don't navigate that wave properly and you take a spill or something. You can kind of see what's going on. And I guess maybe you're not going where you don't know what's under the snow. My fear is I would be flying through the snow thinking it's all level and then there's a wall that
no.
like a 4-foot.
They're clearly marked. You're good.
See, I obviously... And don't take this for my intent to learn more about the subject, but I was just going to say, I obviously don't know enough about snowmobiling. But once again, do not, like, I don't want after we're done here for you to forward me like Snowmobile Magazine or anything. Like, don't feel the need to do any of that. I'm just saying I don't know much about it. And that's where my level of interest will stay at this. So, okay. So you write your first, what geared you towards romance novels? Did you try any other genre before entering the romance novels?
I mean, I've read all types of different genres, but I've always kind of gone back to romance. It's like escapism. It's a happy ever after. The book's going to end nice. I'm not going to be, some books definitely are like, oh my gosh, like it really gets you going, but you always know like at the end, there's going to be that happy ever after, and it's just a feel-good story. So I've always gone back to romance. I remember going to sleepovers at my grandmother's house, and she had just walls of books. Upstairs was all the romance books, and it was like our little secret. She would let me read all the romance books, and she wouldn't tell my mom. And they were like the ones you'd get at the grocery store with like Fabio on the cover. And it really stuck with me, and it's just such a nice memory. And I was like, I'm going to write a romance book, and that's what I've always really enjoyed to read.
If you had one attribute to describe Fabio, what would it be?
There's the hair.
Okay, see, that's where I knew this was going because oh my gosh, I don't understand how this isn't more urgent. That someone's not we're in 2024, for God's sakes. I mean, I can put earbuds in and it can translate a language instantly for me, but they can't figure out how I don't have Fabio hair. I mean, and I would be horrible. I just would be. I really think that that's the line that puts me over into my evil state, my no good, and I'm fine with that. Honestly, I'm fine, and I would even buy a snowmobile if I had that long hair, and I would drive around with no helmet, and I would
Just
say,
with the
I do
hair.
not care about safety. And that hair would be blowing, and
It'd
I
be
don't know,
great.
maybe mist, and it may freeze like that, which then I would probably look more like Martin Short. And there was a movie where he was Jack Frost or something like that. And it just made me think of his hair. I was gonna say we, and I'm so sorry that I tried to involve you into my lunacy here.
No, I love it.
I apologize for that. So on those, so I heard romance novels, and I guess I was thinking as I was growing up, I was just thinking more love story and stuff, like, oh, romantic love story or whatever. But I didn't really think. And then, the first time I really started thinking was the whole 50 Shades, like
Yep.
romance novels, or as we call them in our house, how-to manuals. I'm just kidding. So, but so where on the scale of Fabio and maybe tender kisses on the neck and things like that to having a red room and having to cross out line item fisting, where do your novels typically rank in between there?
I'd say probably like in the middle. I don't really venture into like the BDSM. That doesn't quite fit my books. Maybe there's like a hint of it here and there, but it's not like all the way deep into it. But it's certainly not like closed door, super sweet. Like you have open door scenes. I describe everything going on. So I'd say they're like right in the middle of it.
So as someone, I used to think, oh my God. So when I was young, and we used to do what was called porn archaeology. So now kids can have pornography in the palm of their hand. Actually, the palm of their hand's probably going to be busy. Oh, I wish I had a snare drum for that. That would have been great. So when I was growing up, the only way to get pornography is when people threw it out. They would take it to the recycle bin. So then you would go through the big shipping containers. Remember, this is the late 70s. And you would go through and newspaper, and then you would find like a bag of like Playboys and Penthouses. And I always thought the women in there were quite lovely, but I loved Penthouse Forum because I would read the story and I was just amazed because I thought the stories were so creative. Because here's my deal. I was always told, do not pick up hitchhikers. But reading Penthouse Forum, I felt like that was the best way for me to meet my future wife. No spoiler alerts. I'm not going to say if that is or is not how I met Bobby. It is not. But so I used to always love those stories because they were creative and they would get, I always thought that the use of the word to me as a youngster was more stimulating is probably the right word, but I always thought that was instead of looking at pictures, I wanted to read because it had a story behind it. Oh, that's a pretty girl. That's a pretty girl. You read and it's like, oh my God. I mean, what are the chances that a small engine mechanic comes by 4 girls who had all 4 of their snowmobiles break down at the same time? But some reason out in the snow, they are so hot and they're down snowsuits that they need to start taking them off piece by piece. I mean, I don't know if I've just given you a new book series, but you can
maybe.
have it. Yeah. So I always thought that the written word was better than the pictures at that time. Did you I know you're comfortable because you are writing the words, but how did you have to get to a comfort level before you wrote these thinking, oh, well, if I put this out and people know I'm putting that, they may think that I'm doing this,
Yeah, there was definitely like I mean, I grew up in a very conservative home, you know, grew up in the Catholic Church.
Except for
So,
grandma, it sounds like.
yeah, grandma was the best. So it was like trying to like reach out of that comfort level and be like, this is okay. Like, and I was right. I write under a pen name. And at the time, I had told nobody my pen name. And I was like, I'm just going to put it out. No one will know it's me. Like, everything will be fine. And as I've continued to write and go to events and speak to readers, I'm much more comfortable now, with writing them, with talking about them. I mean, everyone knows my pen name now. My dad shares my stuff. It's it's been really great.
Well, and because, and I know this is a weird to tie it in, but I remember, so back in the day, once again, we were teenagers, for God's sakes. So we would go to strip clubs because, once again, to see naked ladies, you couldn't just turn on a piece of electronic equipment and do it. So I remember when we would go to the strip clubs, and we would go in huge groups, like 10 or 12 guys, like 3 carloads. And it was more of like a woo, and we would have a lot of fun there. And every once in a while, there'd be a guy that'd freak out because he'd be like, how about if I run into some, like a family member that we know or something, you know, or a friend of the family? And I'm like, do you think they're going to speak about it? I mean, if you're that freaked out, I mean, just so side note to this. So we go one night, and there's a guy in the front by himself, hooting and hollering a lot more than the 12 of us in the back row. And so he caught my attention. And then I realized that it was my mom's secretary's husband. So I did what every normal person should do. I said, guys, I can't be seen here. We need to get out of here because this is going to get back to my mom. I did not do that. I went up to him and I said hi. I made very sure that he knew that me and all my friends back there had seen him, because I actually thought, well, that was fun, because then every time we would like in a social setting see each other, I would just like stare at him and just stare, like not like any, like I wouldn't do anything with my eye. I would just stare until he broke. But I just wondered how hard it was. Who is the easiest in your family, and who is the most difficult to take the news that you are now a smut writer? Oh, and you did. I was going to see if you made anything about smut when I said
Oh no,
smut.
that's absolutely what it is. I don't think anyone's really given me a hard time at all. Everyone's been really supportive. They like my stuff, they'll share my stuff, they tell me congratulations. So I have a really, really supportive family, which has been awesome. You know, my dad and all of them, my stepmom, they're all just, they're great. They're like, cool, this is what you write. This is what you write. It is what it is.
So is it anyone, I'm sure there's been someone, and if you don't know them, it may be easier for them to do this. Is there anyone that you've known that's giving you, oh, maybe you should incorporate, you know, when I was in high school, we used to do this. You should incorporate that. Or have you gotten like, oh, you should try this? Not maybe in your personal life, but in the book life.
Yeah, I've had, you know, editors or readers, or like I just did Night Market and I had people, you know, come up and be like, oh, but have you tried this? And I'm like, nope, hasn't come into an idea yet, but maybe one day. I just kind of, you know, maybe one day I'll write whatever they're thinking. Maybe I won't. It kind of is just whatever pops into my head.
So I do remember the comments that I made. I said that, you know, when we were talking before, that I hope I don't skip any, because we had talked before that I don't skip anything. But I did want to talk about the elites of Edgewood Prep again real quick. Because of the, so what I did today was I wore my, I'm all tangled up here, my Bel Air Academy.
Perfect.
I know. So I thought this would be kind of, it would set the mood. And because of the tattoos, now I'm telling you, in the 90s, I don't know why I thought this was a tattoo that I should ink onto my body. And trust me, I have tried to think of things that I could recreate this into that I haven't. So if I get a full sleeve, I think I'm ready for to be one of the elites of Edgewood Prep.
Absolutely.
Because last time we talked about the gentlemen that grace the covers of these novels are very fit.
Yes.
For someone in preparatory school. I had asked you where the heck you went to high school, that this is where you thought that it was going. Because I think I even mentioned the first time that back in the 80s, if someone showed up and was that fit, they would immediately be a narc. It'd be like, no, I'm 16. I'm a sophomore. Okay. Whatever. So with your books, first of all, tell us about the different series and why you chose this series route as opposed to individual novels.
I can't write standalones because I fall in love with all my side characters. So it's a problem. It also
did you know? I mean, did you know that very early on that was going to be a problem for you?
As soon as I started to write the first book, Striker, the motorcycle club, I had already planned out all 16 books that I was going to write in the series. I was like, ooh, I think I'm going to have trouble writing standalones. But also from a marketing standpoint, it makes a lot more sense because you get people hooked on that first book and then they want to read the next ones, and they're what we call a whale reader. So they'll sit down and read it all in a day, in a week, in a month. That's all they'll read. That's all they'll talk about. And then they want more. Now you've got your reader hooked. So,
and that's called a whale reader?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think my wife's going to enjoy her new nickname. So I may modify that, like beautiful pumpkin reader. So I don't know. I may do a little modification to whale reader. That's all I'm saying. When you have multiple books like that, if someone came to you and wanted to turn it into a movie, are they able to integrate? Because each story is kind of standalone for the character,
right?
But how are they integrating in and weaving so that if you had 6 books instead of having 6 1-hour shows about each person, could you take those 6 and put them into a 2-hour where their stories are intertwined and it still makes sense from beginning to end?
I think with some of the series, it would make sense. Where like The Devil's Highwayman, that's a much longer series, so that would be better broken up into like a mini series or like a Netflix series, something like that. Whereas the Elites, you can probably, because they're so interconnected, you can probably squish it all together into one movie where you get to see everybody.
Is that something that has ever been on your mind, maybe on your mind in the future, that putting this to video, either short or long? It has? Okay.
Yeah, it's called Passion Flick, so it's like Netflix, but more for romance readers. And I actually was talking to a reader at Night Market who has worked for Passion Flick. She's like, you really should, put some of your stuff. She's like, even the rom-coms, they're fun. And so I've had it pulled up on my laptop for a while, and I keep looking at it. And, then you've got Colleen Hoover, who is just a wonderful human being. And she, her books have been picked up by traditional publishers and turned into movies. So I think that's something we all kind of secretly want, even if we're like, no, I would never. But like, I kind of feel like, you've made it when people want to pick your book up and turn it into, a movie or a series or something like that.
What is, if one of your series has gotten interest, which one is that? And is that the same as if you had one if you're like, I could pick one of my series to, this is what I want to offer, and this would be the easiest for me to craft, movie, miniseries, whatever you want to call, however the video format comes out. Are those aligned, like what you think is the best and what the audience may think is the best? And if there is a difference, why? Sorry for the compound question.
Oh no. It's a hard one because obviously, like I said, you want you want your stuff to become movies or Netflix series, and you're like, oh man, that would be so awesome. But at the same time, like looking at it, like The Devil's Highwayman, for example, I think it would make a great series. But there's some stuff where I'm like, would it be a great series, or is it just better as a book? Where like the rom-coms I think would make like a cute movie, and I can totally see like readers being like, yeah, we want that as a movie, and that would be like, yeah, super easy. It would be like a cute little Hallmark Christmas movie.
What would be the hesitation like with The Devil's Highwayman? Like if there was a hesitation, what would be the hardest thing to try to keep in but have to modify to keep it in, or the biggest challenge for you?
I'd say some of the scenes, like in the third book, Goose, there's a lot of flashbacks, which were trigger warnings. I mean, I put trigger warnings in all of my books, but I think like that violence, and I mean, in that book, she's sexually assaulted, things like that. I think that would be kind of hard. I've seen how people react to some of those scenes in movies or in Netflix series where they're like, that wasn't necessary to put in. But if you read the book, it's extremely important to that character's development.
Right.
So I'd kind of be nervous of how that would play out, how, viewers would kind of respond to something like that, where I know how my readers respond because it's in a book and they've read it, obviously. But I would be kind of hesitant to see how that would all work out.
Have you did you read the book American Psycho? Have you ever read that
I
book?
have.
Okay, so I read that when it originally came out, I think early 90s. I think it was, so I had heard about Bret Easton Ellis because I think Less Than Zero had just come out, the movie with Robert Downey Jr. was in it. That was one of his comebacks, I think. I could be misremembering that. Anyway, I read the book, and then the movie came out with Christian Bale. Interesting side note is Leonardo DiCaprio was supposed to play the lead, but then when he blew up with Titanic, he dropped out and Christian Bale stepped in. But if you've seen the movie and read the book, they're very similar in many, many ways. There are a couple scenes where you had to read the book to fully understand. There was a scene where his face is covered in blood, and they don't really, you could kind of piece it together if you read the book. It was very graphic in the book. And so, but I did enjoy, I enjoyed the book and I enjoyed the movie, but I thought the movie was a very different tone than what the book said. Does that worry you, or are you okay still getting the story in its entirety out? Because the story's still the same, movie or book. Book is just much, much more detailed, which I really enjoyed.
Yes and no. Like, obviously, I'd be pumped if they were like, "Hey, we want to make this, like a series or a movie." I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best, the greatest." But I also would have that worry, like, "Oh man, like, I grew up reading all the Harry Potter books as a kid, and then they started to make the movies, and that was incredibly exciting. But then you went and saw the movies, and there was some stuff that wasn't quite like the book, and you're like, oh man, that's not how she described it." So I definitely would have that worry, but at the same time, that's not really something, I feel like that's not something you really can control, how people are going
Right.
to view your movie or view your book. So it's kind of like, well, you do your best and it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. I never read the 50 Shades. Actually, I think I take that back. I read one of them. I don't remember which one. My wife finished one on a flight to Las Vegas. And let's just say her finishing that book and me starting or reading whatever portion, I'm sure I didn't have to go too far into that book. Made for a very interesting arrival to Las Vegas. So
I'm
that was
sure.
fun. And so I don't know the differences between the book and the movies. The funniest thing about the whole 50 Shades is when my wife and I went to see the movie, we saw it in Lawrence, Kansas, in a theater, and there was an older couple sitting in front of us. And the girl's going through and she's writing things, she's crossing things off. And she had crossed off fisting. And the guy in front of us, the old guy, turns to his wife and he goes, "What did she say?" And his wife goes, "No fisting." And he goes, "What?" She goes, "No fisting." He's like, "What?" And she goes, "No fisting." Like so loud. And my wife and I were just dying. But because it was almost like like they were planning that, but it was so perfect. But so back to it. So I've always seen the movies and never tied those books in. So I don't know. I had a friend of mine who's written plays, and his play was getting turned into a screenplay. And one of the biggest deals was he was the one, I am the one that needs to be in charge of doing this, because he wanted to make sure the tone stayed the same. I think that's what he was most concerned with. You don't want to take something that may have a more serious tone and then try to make light of it in some fashion.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the trigger warnings that you put in place, have you found that people have shied away once they find out that there's a trigger warning? And
Oh,
what kind of
absolutely.
like do they go like, well, you shouldn't have, like, because there's always people like, you didn't need to include that, and you never know what, as a creative person, you never know what I put into and what my weird mind led to me to spit this out, like you putting pen to paper. So how do you treat that when you get that feedback?
I just say, okay, thanks. I think trigger warnings are important. I like to be able to have readers consent to what they're reading, especially with darker stuff like the Elites of Edgewood Prep. It's a much darker series than what I've written before. And it does have a lot of triggers, and I think that's really important to put in there. I've had people be like, oh, nope, that's not for me. And that's what I want. I don't want someone to pick up a book that is totally out of their comfort zone, that's going to make them have, like a visceral reaction to it. And then, then eventually I get a bad review because of it. So there's that too. But
Right.
at the same time, I had, for an example, I had an ARC reader who thought she could read the second book in the Elite series. I told her the trigger warnings, everything was good. And she got
So
about half.
she read the first book in the series,
Yes.
or she
She had
had?
read the
So
first book and she was very iffy with that. And I was like, if you want to step out, like, no big deal. I've got other books coming up. She thought she could handle it. And I felt so incredibly bad when I got her email that she couldn't finish it because it had triggered her so bad. And that really made me like solidify my like thought process to put those trigger warnings in, because she knew what was coming and she still was like, I had to put it back down. Like, I recently went through something like this and I just wasn't ready to read it. And I was like, nope, please don't apologize. I felt like I should be apologizing almost, like, but she's like, no, it wasn't your fault. So that really just was like, this is why I put the trigger warnings, because I never want to make somebody feel like that ever. I've gone through some of those things. I've had friends go through some of those things. And well, for me, writing and reading that is almost like therapy. Like, it's like, whew, all right, I can get this off my chest. It's a safe place to read through something like that. Not everybody is the same way.
Have you found with situations like that, because you had said that you had gone through some situations and others that you've known, for like research, have you had people that you've been able to talk to? Like they had mentioned a situation that or you may be aware of a situation that they were in. And I mean, is that something that you can have a conversation with someone that you're in close proximity with, or would that need to be someone that's distant that you don't have a relationship with to discuss that?
Kind of both. So, like, I wrote a mafia Christmas book and she was a ballerina, and I really wanted to touch on what it was like as a professional ballerina with the eating disorders and, that whole culture. So one of my author friends actually was a classically trained ballerina. So while it was kind of a hard conversation with her, because she had to bring up all that trauma she went through, I was able to get that firsthand experience. Other times I hire a sensitivity reader because it's just easier that way. And it's either something they've gone through, or they are a professional in that, you know, they're a professional psychologist or something like that.
So what is a sensitivity reader?
So they read through your book to make sure things aren't triggering. So say I had a BIPOC character and they were a side character, I would hire a sensitivity reader to make sure I'm doing that character justice, because I'm I'm a white lady, to
Right.
put it nicely. You know, I can't speak on what they've gone through. So I would hire a sensitivity reader to kind of make sure I was doing that character justice, that I wasn't saying anything insensitive or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, because it can be, you don't know what a trigger is going to be until the first time you feel it. I mean, because you may think that
Exactly.
you've handled a situation okay, which we had the passing of our dog recently, which she was rescued from a puppy mill, her and her family. She was 6 weeks old. She had a lot of medical issues. I always was like, who the blank spends 20 grand on a dog? Well, we did over the last 8 years, probably, for that dog. I mean,
Yep.
and it was fine. I mean, we felt very blessed that we were financially, it wasn't always easy, but we were always able to take care of it. And if someone else would have adopted her, they wouldn't have been able to. But anyway, once she was gone, I appreciated the people around us being kind of, because all the dogs, we back up to a golf course. And so all the dogs of everyone, they just go door to door. So the dogs used to come up to the bat and they would look in, see if there was any dogs that could come out and play. And so they got to where they wouldn't let their dogs, they would like, do I want to interact with a dog and things like that? And it's stuff I've never thought of when we're taking a whole bunch of our dog stuff to the Humane Society. And they go, well, the drop-off's outside. I go outside. And they go, well, a lot of people, after losing a pet, they don't want to come inside and hear this. And I had never even thought of that. I mean, until someone had said, because I was like, outside, I mean, I don't want to leave the blame, but it makes sense. And so
Yeah.
I understand that from your point, that if you're not familiar with a situation, knowing how someone that's been through there may either positively or negatively respond to that. So
Yeah.
do you get, and I guess on sensitivity readers, how much constructive feedback do they give you going, oh, like, oh, that's great? Or even if it like, oh, well, maybe it even doesn't have to touch with what you do directly, but maybe peripherally. Do they give you that towards a feedback as well?
Oh, yeah. They give awesome feedback, which is, I think, every author should be using sensitivity readers, because they do give awesome feedback. Like I said, it's people who have been through this before, or, you know, they're a BIPOC author or reader. So they've lived it. So they're able to tell you, like, hey, you know, this is not cool how you wrote this. Maybe we can reword that a bit.
So I was just thinking about this because I've never put like a trigger warning or anything on my shows. And I've had way too many shows. I think I've had 6 shows on toilet babies. So these are, some reason I was watching something on one of the channels on TV about people that didn't know they were pregnant and they ended up having babies in the toilets. And I'm just like, I like trying to wrap my head around that whole. And for some reason, I think I did do 6 episodes on it. And someone in the International High Q Society, I had posted in there. I used to post when I was putting up episodes there so that they could go, they would have a direct link to it. And so someone saw toilet babies. And I got a very long email about how offended they were because of the sanctity of life and blah, blah, all this. I know that I'm saying blah, blah when he's telling me how offended he was. So I'm not being too sensitive there either. But he thought that the toilet babies was like genius babies that just learned how to use the toilet like really, really early.
Oh.
And I was like, well, I am so sorry that this was not the show you were expecting.
So sorry about that one.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing, and it's going to lead to a seventh show at some point about this. Is I've seen shows about the women that have had the babies, and they like will talk to them. I want to talk to one of the kids. Like, I want to know what is the highest level of success someone that literally was born in a toilet bowl. Like honestly, like if Joe Biden was like, well, you know, when I was born in the 1800s, that's just where babies were born. I would just like to hear that story. So, but yeah, so I had never really thought about trigger warnings myself, but it did flash me back to that story. Speaking of not, this is not a good segue. But we spoke about someone before who has the pleasure, I guess, job. It's just a job. It's not pleasure, a job about looking at the models that grace the cover of your book. And what was her name again?
Gretchen.
Yeah. So Gretchen ended up being a large part of our last show.
Yes.
Yeah, she did. So because I still find it hard to believe that she doesn't have some level of guilt, and it may be a little bit, but some level of guilt that she's accepting some sort of compensation or payment from you besides just looking at these pictures.
She's the best. She's in the hospital right now. She had to have one of her toes amputated. So I sent her a bunch of like work in progresses, and I was like, here you go. You can read all of these if you want while you're in the hospital bed.
Well, all the best to her. I'm just glad that you said that she wasn't having like LASIK eye surgery or something.
Goodness, no.
I've looked at too many people with tattoos, and I don't know why. I was going to start an accent, and I was going to do like a New Hampshire Northeast accent. And then I realized very quickly, I don't know that accent. I am unfamiliar. Like if I heard it, it's from someone else. I could go, oh, that's an accent from the Northeast. I could run, but me trying to do it, it's not. It somehow it's gonna come off offensive, and then I'm gonna have to put a trigger warning on this because of whatever I say. Okay, so in your current lineup of books, and I'm trying to remember what and this is the problem of being the stoner part of me, is what we've already talked about this episode and last episode. But I believe that when we talked before, you had talked about how you don't necessarily stay chronological in books, that you'll jump from series to series. How is that manifested in you? Like, when do you like, oh, I need to write down, but you know it's for this book that you're doing that?
I mean, like I've got different documents all over. So I use Google Docs. So I can, anytime I have an idea, I can be like, oh, perfect. But I mean, it's just whenever I get an idea, I go in, or like I mean, I have outlines of what I plan to write in that book. So I kind of have, you know, an idea of where the book's going to go, but other times it goes off the rails and I don't know what's happening.
What is the biggest off the rails? You don't know what's happening. What's the biggest that's come up during this? Or what's the weirdest thing during writing these series? What's the strangest thing that's come up that you learned unexpectedly? And I can't, like, not even a category, maybe about yourself, maybe about the writing process itself, maybe about character development, maybe about some weirdo that came out of the closet but gave you a really good idea for a new novel. Oh, and I haven't done that yet. There's an old people storyline that I think you could, hold on. We're going to jump directly to this because I think that you need to set your a series in like a retirement community.
That would be good.
Because I can't tell you how often. So my mom lives in a retirement community, and my parents live there. My dad passed a couple years ago, but we'll be walking down the hall, and someone will be exiting an apartment, and they'll like look at my mom weird or whatever, and they'll walk the other way, and my mom will be like, "Well, that wasn't their apartment."
My best friend May does that. So she's a nurse at at like a retirement home. It's a care center. And oh man, the stories that come out of there, I'm like, oh, you need to write this. There's like love triangles, and
Yeah.
this one's got dementia and couldn't remember. I was like, you've got to write a book.
The
Oh,
stories.
yeah.
Like I try to keep my mom in the truth. Like my mom was saying, some lady kidnapped our neighbor, and I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, she came and kidnapped him, and his kids are all worried. I go, well, what are the police doing? Well, they didn't get the police involved. And I'm like, but you just said he was kidnapped. She goes, well, they're getting married and moving to Florida.
So he's not kidnapped.
So he's not, I know. So it's always there's always more to the story.
Oh,
and it's
always.
and you so one of my mom's best friends at the place, her name's Phyllis, and I've always joked that if she got an STD while she was there, they'd have to change her name to Syphilis. Hey-o! So I hope that I was gonna say I hope Phyllis doesn't listen to this, but two things. Phyllis is in her 90s, so she's not listening to podcasts. And two, Phyllis is in her 90s and can't hear podcasts. So
you're good.
I'm probably pretty good there. But yeah, I think that would be...
Oh, that would be so good.
It's just so funny because my mom's like, that is not their apartment. And it's like, they're watering they're watering something. And my mom never wants to say it's sex, but it's always like, yeah. The plants are being watered there. I assure you that. Okay, Mom, you're single now, so let's dial it back. And for someone, myself, who's had, I was going to say quite a few sex injuries, but I think any number more than one is quite a few. And I've had 3.
Quite a few.
Yeah, but my mom has had some injuries lately, and she keeps saying she tripped and fell. But now that we're talking about this, I'm starting to wonder. So here's the whole thing. I'm trying to get a sponsor from a sex swing. And I know that you didn't think this would devolve into sex swing talk, but you are a romance novel writer.
I'm a romance writer.
Yeah. So I have found that when I was younger, I thought only freaks, and I'm not judging, I like freaks. I thought only freaks used sex swings. But as I'm a nearly 57-year-old arthritic person who's had 27 orthopedic surgeries, I have found the sex swing to be, let's just say, good for someone of my age and stature. And here's the thing, I still work out. So if you use TRX, the training bands, you can use the same anchor for that as you do your sex swing.
Perfect.
Now, it is perfect if you give some forethought to where you put the anchor. Not in the dining room.
No, probably not the best.
I do want to shoot a video of that, though, and I want to comment that while I'm looking at it. And then I'll pan sometime when our daughters are over for dinner, and then I'll pan to see the kitchen table behind us. It just was there were no ceiling fans around, which made it the perfect area for both TRX bands and a sex swing.
Sure.
I know. I'm sorry. Let me ask you this, because I haven't run across them anywhere, and I can't see any of the biker guys, the Devil's Highwaymen, using a sex swing. But have you ever incorporated a sex swing into any of your novels?
I don't think I have.
I'm telling you, you write the old stories, you'll be, and then just think about the product and placement that you could do with that. I mean, just all over. I'm not sure that's good or bad, but yeah. So, and it happens enough that I believe the term for it is a lemon party.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know we had. I learn something new every day.
I heard that from a movie, a Dax Shepard, Tom Arnold movie. So you can tell that was a winner. But my assumption is it's called a lemon party because if you walk in on it, you're like, so that's the only thing I can imagine. You're making a face like that. What is the most enjoyable novel series for you personally? Or do they do because you love all the characters? Is it the high school guys? Is it the biker guys? Who I will tell you don't look that dissimilar from the.
I know,
don't
they
know a
all
lot.
look great.
They do. I'm just gonna tell you, I don't know a lot of bikers. In fact, my Rolodex, that's how old I am. My Rolodex has 0 bikers in it
I
that
was
I'm
gonna say
aware
none
of.
of the bikers that I grew up around looked like that either. So
Well, and they probably have scars. Yeah, I no, I don't. No, I think when a biker is not on his bike, he's not at the gym doing work like crunches. Because
probably
that
not.
seems to be what the devil's highwaymen do.
Oh,
Which,
absolutely.
I mean, I'm telling you, for me personally, that's a more appealing biker gang than ones that swill brew. I made him sound more like pirates than a biker gang there because I had him swilling brew. So
Hand in hand, it's fine.
I know. So I have a feeling that the next edition installment of the Highwayman, Devil's Highwayman, is going to have them swilling brew, though.
We could probably write that in somewhere.
I just hope. Actually, if it gets turned into a series, a movie or something, I just want to be in the background swilling brew in as many scenes as possible. Even when they're like, he shouldn't be there. Like,
That would be
we're
so
at a
much better.
funeral in a cemetery. Why is that guy back there swilling brew?
That would
I
be
will
a good one.
And as someone that doesn't like beer or brew in this instance, that would be a big stretch for me. I mean, like if I could pull it off, that'd be like Academy Award winning type stuff for me. Okay, so I love to ask questions and not let you answer them. I apologize. What is your favorite novel series to write?
I mean, I do love them all, so it's hard, but I'd probably say right now, um, I'm really enjoying a new series I'm working on.
And that
Uh,
series is
it's a Why Choose cannabis inspired series.
cannabis. Never heard of the drug. I mean, the plant. I've never heard of it, so I don't even know. What are you talking about? Cannabis.
Yeah, so it's been really exciting. It's totally out of like my typical realm that I write in. I write dark romance and motorcycle guys and bullies and mafia guys. And this is like, she's a very sweet girl, and she gets hired to be an assistant to these 3 guys, and they fly her out to this gorgeous Italian island they have a home on, and goes from there. And they have a grow, and they have dispensaries and a social club. So it's been really exciting to write that. And like I said, it's totally like out of my realm. I've never written a Why Choose, so trying to work those scenes in has been interesting, but it's exciting and it's fun. So
Well, I will tell you this, for someone that has had plenty of romance while incorporating cannabis. So most people don't understand cannabis fully. They think the biggest thing, like if you ask them, just like when I ask you about Fabio, hair, everyone knows Fabio for his hair. With cannabis, they think it's the munchies, but you can actually get strains that will make you not want to eat. They'll give you strains that, like I forgot the name. Animal Star Cookies is one of them. That gets me very focused and creative. And then the other one, it's called Hibernate, which obviously is for like nighttime. And that's for pain because I have arthritis and helps me sleep at night and stuff like that. So, but there are I'll read the effects. And I actually think that this Animal Star Cookies, the effects were creative, focused, and aroused. And my wife's like, well, 2 or 3. And I'm always like, okay, yeah. So she's not the cannabis enthusiast I am, but it is. Now, I haven't tried Viagra, so I can't compare it to that. But I mean, it just makes, like, for me, it makes me much more like amorous. Like,
yeah, there's I mean the amount of strains that are out there, and like I've been researching those for the books. Like it's not just like, oh, they all
what
get
type
stoned.
of research is this that you're doing?
A lot
You
of
do
this
have
is research. No, I've been doing a lot of reading on the different strains, going to our local dispensaries when, my husband goes down, and I'll ask like, hey, if someone was looking for this, what would you suggest? And now I'm
And they're like,
looking
narc, narc, narc.
No, they're all wonderful. They know us there, and they know I'm a writer, and I've told them what I'm doing. So they're like, so is that book out yet?
And that,
But like doing a lot of that, because it's not just, you're getting stoned and that's it. It's so much more, and that's what I wanted to incorporate into the book. Is it's not just what people, see on TV or think from, oh, they're just getting stoned and eating a bunch. It's so much more than that.
and that's, and it depends on how you were raised. So my family, very religious. My dad was a pharmacist, so for some reason prescribed drugs were fine, but other drugs were not fine. And that's just how I grew up. But I also grew up during, like, Cheech and Chong's movies were coming out when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13, that time frame. So the very first time I tried it, and this still amazes people, that I will be 57 here in about a month, about the time this episode will be out much earlier than that. So in about a month from now, I'll be 57. And I didn't try cannabis until I was 47. And so I just had never tried it. And I remember the first time I tried it that I was expecting to be like Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. And I just remember telling my wife, I go, I don't feel anything. And then I literally remember going, my hands don't hurt. They don't hurt at all. And so that, and even though she's not a cannabis user, she is a big cannabis, because she's seen the differences in me.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
there are ones you can find it. We label some of them, like, used to be like I called it parent strains. Like, I would smoke before I went and dealt with my parents about certain stuff. So it made me much more tolerable. I was literally doing drugs. I know I'm always doing drugs for me, but I was really doing it for them in this instant. So I was doing them myself, but to their benefit. So if you need any help with any of that, I might have some input. So for this new series on cannabis, have you already set out like a book series? And do you always know the number of books that are going to be in the series prior to starting the series?
Generally, yeah. This one right now is much different, so I'm debating between 2 and 3 books. I'm not quite sure how I want to end the second book, if I just want to end it and be done, if I want it to be like a duet, so it's just the 2, if I want it to be a trilogy where it's 3 books. So this is the first one where I'm like, I don't know. Like, do I tell it from each guy's point of view? Do I mix them all in? So it's been really fun to kind of play around with. Right now, it's all of them in one book. So you're getting 4 POVs in one book. So it's a lot. But this is the first one where I'm like, I don't know. Typically, I know exactly how many books it's going to be. I can plot it all out. Or this is a 5-book series. This is a 4-book. Or like The Devil's Highwayman, it's going to be a 16-book series. And this is the first one where I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going with it.
Yeah. And does that, for you, as someone who's a creative myself, do you find that because it's a different process and you kind of get used to, oh, well, I can kind of, this works for me, and now it's not working? Do you find that challenge more exhilarating to find a solution, or do you like, fuck, I thought I was past this already? I mean, I thought I was a better writer. I shouldn't be dealing with this at this point in my career.
I go back and forth. Sometimes I'm like, wow, this is like, I'm growing as a writer and this is great. I'm, writing something new. I'm exploring something new. But at other times I'm like, well, this really fucking sucks because this is not my process. I have outlines, Pinterest board, Spotify list, and what they call a planner. So we've got a plotter and a pantser. So a pantser kind of just flies by the seat of their pants. They don't do outlines typically. They just write, where I plot. I, have everything down. I have side characters that got brought up once. I put so much time and effort into their names, what color shirt they're wearing in chapter 16, like ridiculous planning. And this one is like, no, we're not going to do that. And it's like, I'm trying to trust the process, because maybe that's me growing as a writer, and maybe, this is a new avenue I can take with these books. But at the same time, it's so frustrating.
Or maybe at the end you'll find out, why did I do this? I should have gone back the old reliable way.
Exactly.
I would have put out 3 new series by this point. Do you have a date for the first book in that installment?
I'm planning to have it done by spring of next year.
Okay.
I'm planning on going to called Sinners and Stardust in Boston next August. It's a huge 4-day book event. So I'd like to have it done for that, where I can do like special edition books, and I'm limited to what I can give away, unfortunately. But
Right.
I'm kind of planning to do like little keychains maybe with it, something like that. But I want it done by spring, so I have plenty of time to like hype people up by August.
That's Do you enjoy doing those live events like that? And how often do you? So is that an invite, or is that something that you're looking out because geographically it makes sense to bring attention to your book series?
So I try to do at least 2 or 3 events a year. Um, this year I had 1, 2, 3. I had 3. 4. I had 4. Oh my goodness. Forgetting how many I did this year. There was a lot. So it's the most I've ever done. But I love going to these events. I try and stay in the New England area. It's just easier with traveling and 2 small kids. And cost wise, it's really, really expensive to fly with all your books that way, because you're bringing all these books for people to buy. I try and bring 20 of at least the first book in a series, 10 of each other one. So if I've got 6 books in one series, that's a lot of books to bring.
Right.
But I love going to these events. I interact with readers. It's so great to meet them in person. I get to see author friends that I typically only talk to online. So we get to actually hang out in person and, have lunch together or have breakfast together. So they're just really, really enjoyable events.
So are these other authors that you're meeting, are they romance novel writers, or are they different genres, just authors as well?
Some of them write in multiple different genres, but the majority are all romance writers.
And what do romance writers talk about when they get together? Because
Anything
now
and
I'm
everything.
having now I'm thinking that someone's overhearing the mystery romance novel writers at the local Applebee's, and all they're like, what are they saying? They're talking about fisting.
Everything and everything you can imagine we talk about. We talk about our books. We'll talk about, hey, I'm writing this book. Do you think this makes sense? Or like fantasy books and like paranormal books, shifters. They've got like dragons. So we were looking up like certain toys on Etsy that have to do with dragons. And we just had like laughing, having a great time. I was like, oh my gosh, if anybody ever heard us, they would immediately want us committed, because this is not normal. But then we talk about like, oh, how are the kids, the husband, how's your husband feeling? And talk about, if we have day jobs, things like that. So it's all over the place.
So when you are doing a live event, or I guess it doesn't even have to be a live event, what is either the most unique area geographically, or maybe the greatest distance that you've heard that someone has read your novels or your series and made comment and it's gotten back to you?
I've had readers from all over the world, which is really awesome. I typically like events here in New England. We've got people, like I had a couple come from Alaska, and they were super pumped to meet me at my event last year, which was an amazing feeling. I do Christmas cards every year for my readers, so I send them out for free. They just fill out the form and I send them. So I had 2 readers from Eastern European countries that I got to send to. I've got the UK, I've got that whole area. So, I think Eastern
Isn't
European
that
was
fun
definitely
to
the
see that
furthest.
every once in a while? And I don't do deep dives on my analytics, but every once in a while, like probably every other month, I'll go and see how many countries I'm being listened to. And then I'm like, who the F is listening to me? And like
It's
Turkestan.
awesome. Yeah,
I'm like, I
it's
thought
crazy.
Turkestan was the fake countries they used in the movie Spies Like Us with Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. So I didn't even know that was real. But yeah, I do think that's interesting. And I do
Yeah.
think it's interesting. The United States has been number one, but 2, 3, and 4 seem to change. And I don't know why that is, but it is interesting to see that. And every once in a while, I have gotten like someone will be like, "Oh, you're the podcast guy." I'm like, "Yeah," and I mean, and I know that I don't. I guess I don't venture that far out from the house and
Right.
stuff. So I'm sure that people, but I don't know. But that is cool. So have you been recognized, like on the street? On a snowmobile, like you're going out on a trail and someone's coming back and they're like, "Hey, that's the author."
I
I'm
mean, I've
assuming
had
that's how that would go.
I've had some local readers like be like, "Oh, hey," like at grocery shopping, stuff like that.
So did
Um,
they know who you were before? Like, did they know you were local and that's why they bought the book, or they bought the book and go, "Oh, what the heck, they're local," and then they stalked
yeah.
you?
So it's both. I've had some people be like, "Oh, they've met me at a community event, and that's why I go to the community events to be like, here I am. I'm a local romance author. I live right here in town. I'm just, a normal person." But other people were like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea you lived in New Hampshire. You're shopping at the same grocery store as me." I'm like, I'm a normal person.
So you've now made the T-shirt thing twice. So I'm writing down, I'm a local romance writer. I'm just a normal person.
Just a normal person.
Okay, if you were a normal person, you wouldn't have to bring up that you're a romance writer. Okay, so you're not really. You may
I'm a
be a
little
normal
normal.
romance writer. That I'll give you credit for that one. But yes, that will make the T-shirt too. I'm a
Perfect.
local romance writer. I'm just a normal guy. That's all I am. And I still find it very disconcerting. My arms in a tank top at this age. I probably should have at some point put my cardigan back on, but now I have remembered that it is still August
Yes.
and I have a cardigan on. So no, thank you. Okay. So when people find out that has anyone treated you differently once you started writing these novels? Like they look at you like you're just a freak. Like
Yeah,
you're doing
so
the reason you know everything in these books is you're a closet biker. You're probably on the high school men's lacrosse team. So that's how you know what they look like. I mean, they probably are just disgusted with you at this point. So who in your life was like, whoa, 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 pump the brakes? Who are you now?
so when we were going to a church, yeah,
I
our
like
church,
past tense, when we were going to a church
we no
before
longer
they
go
stoned us.
there. But once people kind of found out what I was writing, they were like, "Oh," and I was like, "It's just me." So, and I mean, I expected that though. It's a church. It is what it is. But then I had other people, like old ladies, would be like, "Hey, you bring some of your books to church next week." I'm like, I can't bring those in.
Yeah, you could. You go to like one of those Bible stores and you get one of the covers for a Bible, so the zipper cover, and then you just put your
Perfect.
Bible in there. It's just a book, and then
Oh,
you're
they were
like,
like,
you're
"Well,
sitting
meet me."
outside.
They're like, "Meet me in the parking lot after church." I'm like, "Is this a drug dealer romance books?" Oh my goodness! But
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh!
it was great. But I definitely had both ends of the spectrum there, where some people were like, "Oh,
I
okay."
think you should do a short of you going supplying the ladies with the books, like, here you go, and they slide it into like a little pocket in the thing, and then you open it up and they just pull it out, and like no one's the wiser. I mean, no one's the wiser except when both of you go to hell. I'm just kidding.
We'll all be
Yeah,
down there. It's fine.
I do. I am a Christian. We go to church every week, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to be sharing the same heaven with a lot of the other Christians that I go to church with. So there's a funny thing. It said there is some reel, and it was some guy, and he goes, if you end up in heaven and you don't see me there, you're not in heaven. And I was like, that is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that is perfect. Okay, so what is next on your professional career, the next big date marker that you're looking forward to on the calendar? Because today's past. I know it was going to be this, but now that we're doing this, what is next?
Let's see. That's a hard one. I mean, I'm putting on events, I'm doing anthologies where we get pretty close to being like USA Today bestsellers. That would be great. The anthology I was just in, The Love Archives, we made #2 on the entire Apple bookstore, which was an awesome feeling. So just trying to keep hitting those.
So let me ask you this. When you see this is why I try not to look at numbers, because, and that's what I'm worried about now, is that my show for the first 200 plus shows maybe had 10 or 15 interviews. And now I'm putting out 2 interviews a week. And so it's actually changed quite a bit. And I've noticed that my numbers, depending on who the guest is, they will, I'll get a spike or whatever. But I've noticed that they've kind of like leveled out. And I don't know if that's because I've changed like kind of the format, that I was a solo show, that I was just like talking about weird stuff. Toilet babies for 6 full episodes. I mean, hello. I mean, that's like 12 hours. Like, I have so much. If you ask AI, like Gemini, give me all you can on the Stone Genius podcast, Toilet Baby episodes, it would go, too much information. I can't handle this right now. And that's a lot coming back. So, but I don't want to change and I feel like I have, but I don't want to look at those numbers and change. So now that you saw your #2 on Apple, does that make you like, are you the type that next time, say you hit #5, then are you like, are you happy with #5 at that point? Or are you trying to figure out why it's not #2?
Both. So like I've had books where I really loved the book and it didn't do as well as I thought it was going to. And it's just, honestly, since writing so many, I'm like, you know what? It's all right. If I get #1, I get #5. It's awesome. If I get #30, that's great too. I'm just happy to put my books out there, Obviously, it's a great feeling when you hit #1 or you hit like #2 and you're like, yeah, you see what I can do? So like you kind of have that validation where you're like, all right, I'm clearly doing something right. This book was great.
Right, but then you have the additional pressure of, yes, we've seen what you can do. Now do it again consistently.
Yeah, and it's really hard because not every book's going to be the same. Not every book is the same story. It's, they all take such a different perspective. So trying to keep up with that. I mean, I had that with The Devil's Highwayman. Definitely felt like, book 1 was great. People loved book 2. People loved book 3. They were like, this is by far. And book 4 kind of fell short. People were like, well, it wasn't my favorite. And it was like, at first I was like, oh, all right. Well, I'm just done writing. I just give up. That's it. We're all done. This is not a good feeling. But at the same time, I was like, I already am writing book 5. Just keep going. I've got, other tropes and other different genres to keep writing. So I've definitely dealt with that where you're like, oh, okay. Like you kind of like get a little deflated. But at the same time, you're like, you know what? That was his story and that was his story. And if they didn't like it, I don't know. This is what he told me to write. So
because as you're talking and I'm thinking about your stories and you doing research on them, and I'm thinking of The Devil's Highwayman, two scenes come into mind. Pee Wee Herman when he's in the bar dancing tequila in Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and then I believe it is in Fletch, where Chevy Chase goes into a biker bar with a fake mustache on as well. So those two scenes were coming to mind. So how did you do your research for something that, like, if you're like, oh, I wrote a romance series on a snowmobile club, I'd be like, I get it. She knows all about it. She is an expert. I am listening. I am tuning in. I didn't even know you could do that sexually on a snowmobile. So I would be tuned in. But for a biker, I know that I am stereotyped. But when I look at you, and it's because you have a full set of teeth, but because I look at you, I'm like, you are not a biker girl. So how did you do the research for something that may be a foreign subject to you?
I have friends who are in clubs. My husband has family members who are in clubs. I ask them a ton of questions. I know it sounds really silly, but honestly, reading some of the information that, FBI, CIA, people like that put out, like, they took down a club, and now you get to go and read all of that court paperwork to see what were they doing, read the transcripts of, an undercover cop, and you kind of get a feel, but at the same time, like, you don't want to stereotype them because that's not who they all are. Do they sometimes make bad choices? Yes. But
well, so here is my familiarity with a biker club. And my wife used to do their jackets for them, like sew the patches on for them. And my brother-in-law was the president of the biker club here for the Northeast Kansas chapter many years ago. And the biker club was BACA, which is Bikers Against Child Abuse,
yeah,
which is
we've
amazing.
raised money for them before.
They are amazing. But like, that's my familiar. I like, these are not the same. I mean, and they're rough and tumble. No one's going to fuck with them, but they're sitting in a yard protecting a child as opposed to selling meth to the meth heads down the street. And so so to me, even though they're bikers, and it's a biker club, and I understand all of that, and they have their patches and everything. It just, to me, it's like, you guys are doing so much good that I don't really see you as like Sons of Anarchy. Now, I don't know. Maybe they, when they're not,
no, they're wonderful.
Yeah, if they're not in the young person's yard, protecting them, then maybe they're selling meth to the meth head, taking that job away from the real bikers out there. Not real bikers. I know someone with BACA is going to like run me over with their motorcycle. And I am just old enough and have just enough arthritis. I will not be able to get out of the way. I needed a sad trombone sound for that one. So how do you do that research then? So you just have the family members and friends that are in there, and you can gather enough information, and then the research with the FBI and the CIA. Do you do any deep dives like on YouTube or?
Oh yeah, I mean, YouTube videos, I know it sounds really silly, but like biker shows, Sons of Anarchy, like it's not even just for like the research of what they're doing, but like more for like the aesthetic and, what do their bikes look like, their clubhouse, how do they talk to each other, things like that.
Somehow you say you do this research and all of your bikers seem to have six packs. So,
yeah, mine are good-looking bikers, at least.
They are. So still, but it must be geographically, the headquarters for that biker group must be geographically near the high school that's churning out all these guys.
Surprise, it's all in the same state.
Yeah, it's a pipeline is what's going on. So yeah. Hey, we need another guy to run drugs for us. Is he done with his crunches? Get him over here. Let's go. Okay. I'm so glad that you came back on the show. I was nervous. I was like,
no.
I could just let this go, and maybe I'm being overly on the audio. I'm actually going to I have our show still, so I'm gonna have it back there at some point. I'll probably post it just if someone else wants to listen what the original sounded like and hear, because our conversation I know was much the same but much different. So we didn't include Gretchen as much this time.
No, I know.
I know. So, well, give her my best, even though she doesn't know who I am. And luckily she wasn't a whole segment this time for the program. And I hope that she heals quickly. And I can only imagine that getting pictures of hot people during a recovery process,
it's tough.
I can't see how that would be bad.
Unless
you had like a bad back and you had dropped one of the pictures and you're like, I'd really like to pick that up. And I can't because I have a bad back.
Nope.
I can't believe Lila gave me all these pictures with my bad back and now I can't pick it up. So thank you so much. I hope you come on the program again sometime.
Absolutely. This has been awesome.
It is. And it's fun because I enjoy the conversation, that you laugh, you have a good time, you're very open. And these subjects to me, like sex and things, I've never thought were a big deal. So on the very first episode, my wife and I used to have a podcast. We still have it. We just haven't posted in a while, called The Longest One Night Stand with Bobby and Ro.
Oh,
well, it was a one night stand that's still going 28 years later. But we had our youngest on the program, and my wife asked Trinity, what is the best parenting advice you ever got from us? And Trinity was, I think, 19 at the time. And they go, Dad told me to always be prepared for a threesome or an orgy. And my wife was taken aback, and I looked at her. I go, we've had all the other talks with her. I go, so the reason I had the talk with her is it was after their freshman year in college, and they were driving from Kansas City to Minnesota to a lake house to meet some other college. So it was going to be a co-ed, no parents or anything. You have a long drive. I just said, be prepared that this may come up. Okay. So, because the worst thing about a threesome or an orgy, well, besides where to put things, I mean, that's a whole schematic thing. But the worst thing is not being prepared if one presents itself and you haven't wrapped your mind around what really is about to take place. So I was neither pro or con. I said, I have never been in one, and I don't plan on ever being. I can barely satisfy my wife, so why am I going to bring someone else into the picture? So, but I just told Trinity, I go, just at some point this will come up in your life. I go, I apologize that me and your mom are too beautiful and we made you so beautiful. It's going to come up in your life. So it did not come up on that trip. However, a while ago they took a trip, and when they got back, they go, well, that presented itself. And I go, and they go, I shot it down. But they were actually like happy that there was some pre-thought into like, if this comes up in a situation, do I want to take place of it? And so, yeah. So, so not everyone has a comfort talking about sex or books that have to deal with sex. Some of them are the people at your prior church.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and hopefully this might be the final question. I honestly don't know. Have you found a church that has either accepted you as the romance novelist, or have you had to bury that part of you?
Oh, no, we found one. We're good now. It's actually my husband is the groundkeeper for this church, and we started to go there after we left our last one, and everyone's just really cool with it. That's where I hosted Monadnock Literary Buzz. So it's a book signing for local and New England authors. And we rented out their hall and they thought it was great. So I did have everyone kind of like tamp it down, be like, hey, we can't have like mini penises all over. This is a family event. It's technically at a church. So, but they were great. They were super excited to have us there. People ask me how my stuff's going all the time. They're just really awesome.
Hold on. Can we go back to mini penises everywhere?
Oh, yeah.
What is happening at these book signings that mini penises are involved?
They're like, like the little like stress balls. They have those like in
I know what the little stress balls are.
Yeah, so they make them. They look like the little head. They're
little... And this is why young people aren't doing sex right. If they are treating a penis like a stress ball, this is why guys aren't having sex. They're like, I don't want my penis treated like a stress ball.
There's like little resin ones. I mean, people have huge, big old dildos on their table. It gets a little... The first one I ever brought my husband to, I was like, listen, I want you to be prepared. There's going to be a lot of penises. And it was like, yeah, I was like, no, I look me in the eyes and let me know you understand what you're walking into, because it's a lot of ladies in
I
one
don't know if
room.
I can put that all on a t-shirt. I needed to let my husband know there were going to be a lot of penises. I mean, it
Yeah.
seems like that would be a really a really popular item in the store. Maybe
Oh,
that's more like
absolutely.
a mug, like a coffee mug or something. We could slap that on because once
Absolutely.
again, I don't think my wife. So this goes back to being prepared for an orgy. If my wife brought up to me, be prepared, there's going to be a lot of penises there, I would say, I've already thought about this. I prefer not to be involved. Okay.
Yeah, he's a good trooper. He goes to all these events with me, but that was the one thing for this one that I hosted. I was like, "Hey, we've got, a lot of different genres. We've got, children's books. We had a guy who wrote about healthy fruits and things like that. We had like paranormal. So it was quite the variety. But I was like, so we need to kind of tamp it down, friends, because not super appropriate, for middle of the day at a church
I
building.
I don't know. Maybe it'd get more people to come to church. Go. Did you hear about
Maybe
the church, the one with all the penises? We should go to that one.
like Sinners and Stardust was just this past weekend, and
I'm sorry,
they
Sinners and Stardust.
yeah, so it's another book signing in Boston, and it's huge. It's that's where I'm going next year. And they had like a ball, so everyone got to dress up, and the pictures were a lot, a lot. They were a lot, and I cannot wait to go.
Sinners and Stardust sounds like an orgy put on by David Bowie.
The ball looked pretty similar to that, so
Okay. All righty then. So this what I want to tell you that for 300 plus episodes, I know stuff. 341 episodes when this comes out. I want to say that I will give you the record for most laughs. So I very much appreciate that. So
perfect.
all it took was a lot of sex talk to get those
Yeah,
laughs to come out. So I'm glad that we could do that. I am so glad that you came back on. I thought our first talk was good. That's the whole reason I didn't want to redo it. I was concerned that this one would not be as well, just because I didn't think I would, because you laughed a lot at the last one too, which I appreciate. So I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to catch you off guard, maybe on questions that you wouldn't laugh as much, that there'd be crickets chirping in the background somehow. So I am very appreciative of you coming back on.
absolutely.
So do you want to, and I know we're very late in the show, pimp any of your socials where people can find your book series currently?
Yeah, everything can be found under Lila Grey Romance. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on a new app called Lemon 8. It's like Pinterest, but neater. I don't know. It's the new one that everyone's on, so I'm on it. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on Spotify with all playlists for my books. And then all my books are available on Amazon, but I also have a TikTok shop, Lila Grey's Bookstore, where people can buy paperbacks directly from me. And they get it signed. They get really nice vellum inserts. They get all types of swag I make. So nice little
That's
bonus.
awesome.
Yeah.
And for everyone that's listening to the podcast, you can also go to @thestonegenius on Instagram. All of those places to find Lila will be listed there. Also, with the description of this podcast, you should be able to find those there as well. So, Lila, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you.
And we'll have to touch base at least once it gets to snowmobile season. And
Absolutely.
I may have to incorporate your husband and have some sort of verification from your children that they are willingly doing this. Because I will tell you, if I saw children on one of those, death trap is probably too much. I haven't driven one myself. So let's just say from what I've seen, death traps. If I saw children being driven on one of those in the snow, I would call family service.
They have their own, so they drive them themselves.
Wow.
My daughter races them. Oh yeah, they love it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
I did. Well, I mean, because now the phrase snowmobile races it, something that I didn't normally put together either. That's
Oh
something
yeah.
totally different. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. It's
You're
one of
so
my
welcome.
favorites.
Well, I appreciate that. For everyone, we've been talking to Lila Grey. You can find her at lilagrayromance.com. I will have all the other contact information for her, either in this description or at the Stone Genius on Instagram. You can find it there. Thank you again. Thank you all for listening to the podcast. We'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.